Hello everybody and welcome to this mini documentary about my process of writing an album for the February album writing month. This year I'm a few days behind because some unfortunate events happened. After coming back from Poland, visiting my friends and spending time with them, I came back here. I took a week to rest before this challenge, and right when I was ready to work, the announcement of very heavy storms incoming reached me, and turns out that I had to do a lot of stuff, basically securing things, making sure that I have enough firewood to keep the place warm and not go outside in this not pleasant but also very dangerous weather. And all that sort of stuff consumed a lot of time, a lot of energy. And what do you know? The first night the storm hits, it blows the window of my attic. So I had to deal with that. And those storms lasted for a few days, so I wasn't able to sleep because it's the first time in my life that I heard the wind get so loud and so intense. And right after that, plain and simple, I got sick. I had a fever for a few days and that repelled me from the studio quite efficiently. But hey, I'm here, I'm excited for this challenge, I'm ready to make some music. Right now I would like to just do some sound designing on my Reface DX, and then I will tell you a little bit about the backstory of this album. Okay, so right now I have a bank of 8 patches. I made 7 patches today. One of the patches was made before, but I think it will still fit the vibe of the album. Right now I would just like to show you the patches that I've made. Alright, so it's almost warm enough to hang out in my studio again. This year a lot of things are getting in the way and there's a lot of hurdles that I have to somehow navigate through. Yesterday I was at the doctor's office and today I'm starting a cycle of medication that's probably going to make me drowsy and nauseous, so I'm not sure how much I will be able to narrate, but I'm still very committed to making this documentary and this album, and I don't want to give up that easy. I'm still going to make music, even though it's probably going to be me sitting in front of a screen or laying down in bed, but I don't want to complain too much. I'm still very committed to making that album. I would like to share some backstory behind this album, so maybe you will know where I'm coming from and why am I so motivated to do it anyway. So for a long time I've been thinking about switching my content a little bit, and I wanted to shift from weekly jams to making something more personality driven, more content based videos, where I will just hang out in my studio, make some music and utilize all the gear that I have. I'm doing that to allow myself to work on the albums and projects that I have sitting on my hard drive for years, but because I was so preoccupied with constantly making jams for YouTube so I can post them every week, I wasn't really able to dedicate as much time and attention to those projects, while those personality-driven, content-based videos would allow me to just hang out in my studio, make some music, show you how those songs are made. The jamming part of my YouTube career, let's say, is not over. I will still do it because I enjoy it, but I'm not going to lie, it quickly burned me out, because at some point I started realizing that I just want to add more and more things. I just want to make it more like a full song rather than just jamming on one sequence. And during those times I was thinking about all those projects that I've mentioned before. And there's also another part to this story, which is that in December I traveled to Poland to reunite with my friends, to reconnect with them, because last year I moved to Norway, and after my move I only kept in touch with them through online means, so just text messages and calls basically. So when traveling back to Norway after the end of my stay, I stayed at one hotel, and at night I couldn't sleep. I had a lot of racing thoughts, and they weren't really negative. They were more about the gratitude that I have for the wonderful people that surround me and for the opportunities that I've been given both in Poland and in Norway. That was a very strange and profound experience for me, because I'm usually very driven by negativity. I'm usually depressed, anxious, angry, but I rarely get to feel joy, let's say. Because of that, I decided to give myself a well-deserved break, because I've been uploading consistently for many years. I'm not even sure, I've lost track already. I never missed an upload. I pushed through technical difficulties, lack of inspiration, various types of burnout. So I decided to just abandon January and take a well-deserved break, then come back full force during February album writing month, for which I also had an idea, which is the idea that I'm about to finally explain right now. So this idea was to make an ambient album. My music is already very atmospheric, it has a lot of ambience, but I never released anything that was purely ambient. And the idea of this ambient album was very appealing to me, because all my life I've been searching for some peace and quiet, and right now I have the perfect opportunity to just have it. For the past year I didn't, because there was constant chaos in my head and I couldn't really focus on the things that are going right in my life. That night at the hotel kinda shifted this perspective. And as much as it would be easy to just abandon all those profound thoughts the next day, I really stuck to it. I came back to Norway, I took my break, I enjoyed my time with Korg Nautilus and just taking walks, observing nature, getting back into photography a little bit. And I apologize if it came out too personal or too depressing, too real or whatever, but I think that the things that I feel are not really separable from the music that I make. If I'm very depressed, it's going to show in my music. If I'm really stressed about something, it's going to show in my music. And I think that talking about those things gives you some more context to where those things come from. And I don't know, maybe it gets in the way of your enjoyment of my music. Maybe it helps you enjoy it more. I've been filtering my thoughts for a really long time, and I'm realizing that it's not very healthy for me, and that just creates more neurotic thought patterns and stuff like that. So yeah, that's also one of the things that I would like to do on this channel, just be more open. Like, if you vibe with it, you vibe with it. If you don't, I'm sorry, I can't really help it. And yeah, enough of this depressing shit, let's just make some music, okay? Let's get to work on something. Alright, so at this point I finished 2 songs so far, and I'm realizing that my biggest challenge comes from the composition. I'm used to different types of music, so I have a pretty decent idea when the drums should come in, how the bass is supposed to be introduced, but with ambient music, which is more free-flowing in nature, I'm kind of lost. I'm still in the process of figuring out how often I should repeat a particular phrase, how I should introduce a particular instrument. And when I was thinking about making an ambient album, I thought like, yeah, it's easy, I know how to make the sounds, but arranging those sounds into songs that are not carried by the groove of the drums and bass and other synthesizers is a bit more tricky than I initially thought. Right, so the meds that I've mentioned before are making me feel absolutely dreadful. Yesterday I spent most of my day in bed because I wasn't really able to function after taking them, and I decided to record today after waking before I take my first dose and do some more demanding stuff, so later on when I feel bad I can just take my laptop to the bed and record pure screen capture without any commentary or without anything else. And my current idea is to take my bass guitar, plug it into the Zoom MS-70 CDR and try to make an ambient tone, record a longer improvisation with it, and then try to make something out of it. So yeah, let's do it. Alright, I know this setup is not the prettiest, but we're kind of racing against the clock right now, so yeah, let's just record a bunch of samples and let's see what I will be able to do with them later on. I'm aware that you can see what I'm doing on screen. If I find a way to transfer the patch that I made onto my PC, I will definitely share it for free with all of you, so... Alright, we're not making a funk album. Okay, how about a slow filter? No tap tempo on it. Okay, so I'm currently messing around with duo tremolo. I'm trying to find a sweet spot, so it's there and it contributes to the sound, yet it's not at the forefront of the sound. Okay, so I think somewhere around 50 there's a sweet spot that I was looking for. I'm going to add reverb, because what is ambient music without a reverb? Okay, I like this reverb. Okay, let's see what the modulation is doing on it. Okay, it's interesting. I think I'm going to keep it. And let's move to the delay category. Type echo? Let's try. Alright. And after the type echo, I would like to add another reverb, just to smear it even some more. In case you're wondering why I'm playing only in D minor right now, it's because it gives me access to the D string, but I also can play all those notes higher up on the neck of the bass, so I can pitch them up and down without having much trouble. If I played in this register, it would get muddy very quickly. So I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that I'm going to still process the signal and still do things about it. And while I'm playing up here, I'm also able to play some chords that sound clean and clear. See? I like reverse delays. Let's try that. Maybe less of that. Alright, I wanted to add another effect to it, basically a big reverb or delay that will just wash it out even more, but the DSP on the Zoom is already full. So what I'm thinking is that I'm just going to record a quick improvisation right now, and then when I'm going to chop it up and resample it and do all this wild stuff with it, I will just add maybe Valhalla Shimmer or Valhalla Supermassive or just any type of reverb that will fit the idea. Okay, so I have the recording of the bass. I'm going to just listen through it and pick some sounds that I would like to use. Not exactly what I wanted, but let's roll with that for a while. Right now I'm just going to glue it together, and now we can stretch it out, for example, using the Re algorithm once again. Yeah, something like that. How about if I pitch it up and I drench it in a reverb? Currently, what I'm thinking is that this progression is okay, although I would like to resample it and put a bunch of effects on it, so maybe it resembles an atmospheric pad a little bit more than it resembles a bass guitar. So the bedding for all the other sounds is a little bit fuller and more dense. Or actually, before resampling, let me try and process this. Okay, what I'm thinking is that this stretch is a little bit too much actually, and it goes on a little bit too long. Oh yeah. A bit loud. And these sub-frequencies are starting to get wild, so let's put on another EQ. Right now, as you see, I'm not really worried too much about sound design or composing. I'm just trying to find some sounds and some ideas to work off of later on. So I've imported a single note from the samples that I've recorded into Resamplomatic. I know that it's in D minor, but in Resamplomatic, whatever you put into it by default, it's on the note A, so I'm just going to write in A minor, basically visually, but I'm aware that it's in D minor. Let's summon my secret weapon, my only paid plugin, Valhalla Shimmer. Right now I'm doing the most boring blend sequence. Even though it sounds good, I heard it a bunch of times in various types of music. I'm thinking that maybe I will use it periodically in the whole composition. So maybe there's some like weird stuff going on, and then this comes in for a while to give some relief and then just blends into something else. Or maybe I will use it at the end as the final payoff.
Alright, so today I'm trying something a little bit different. I'm filming on my phone that I got yesterday. I want to see what it's capable of in terms of video, because it may be a little bit more convenient than having this little setup with a cable running into the media port and having it just dangle around as I'm trying to work in my studio. Or my other setup with like proper DSLR on a chunky tripod. One of the ideas that I had for a track on this album was to learn the Mode 7 engine on my Korg Nautilus. But then I printed the manual and the printer barely managed to keep all the pages in place because it's not used to printing an entire book. And yes, I got an entire organizer along with those plasticky page holding things, I don't know their name in English, just to keep this manual safe from coffee stains, cats and all the other stuff. So a backup idea that I figured out on the spot was to sample some pianos from Korg Nautilus into my Digitakt. Let's do it. Alright, so I think this may be it. I didn't want to have a steady, strict, predictable rhythm. I wanted it to be a little bit wonky, which is achieved. And there's some underlying harmony, so it has some context to whatever is going on. And I'm thinking about utilizing just this little recording in various ways. I'm willing to try and make an entire track just within the Digitakt, using the probability and the internal sequencer. And maybe, just maybe, by the end of it, if I feel like it's lacking something,
Maybe I will put some additional effects in Reaper, or maybe I will resample it, post-stretch it or something like that, but I think that I can achieve a pretty decent minimalistic tune with just this one sample and just the Digitakt. Okay, so I have my sample that I just recorded on track 1 on the Digitakt, and I'm just going to experiment with it, mess with it and see what I can make of it. First, I would like to give it an infinite decay, so it just keeps playing over and over, and maybe some reverb. Let's make the reverb large. Ooh, I like it. Actually, I'm going to shorten this loop up to around a half of it. Let's actually copy this and paste it on the track 2. And let's put it back at its original pitch. Maybe... How about I try the granular thing? Okay, it's a little bit weird and wild right now. How about we lower the probability? Okay, so let's go to track 3, let's paste the same sound. Let's take off the reverb and the delay, and let's lower it one another octave. Let's select this at random, let's put it in reverse, and just let's throw it on top of everything else. Oh my god. I think we should place some trigs. Let's place them a bit weirdly, like randomly. Let's just click whatever comes to mind, and let's lower the probability on those as well. And let's get rid of the infinite decay. So those reverse shimmers are just a periodical thing. I think that's a really nice, beautiful interlude, and I would like to perform it with the internal mixer page.
It's 8 AM, the challenge almost comes to a close now. And at this point, I'm considering 1 or 2 more tracks. And what's a better way to start the day than doing some sound design on the MicroFreak?
I think I'll just cut this out, paste it on a new track, and of course I would like to stretch it out. How about I stretch it to around a minute? Okay, sounds nice, although I don't necessarily vibe with all the high end. Yeah, band passing it like this sounds really good to me. And another thing we could do is just add some reverb on top of it. And there are some variations on this particular patch. Okay, 1 octave. I don't really want it to serve as a bass for this track. I think it would be more of a static texture, and I'm thinking about adding some distortion to it and maybe even modulating the distortion a little bit so it has more interesting movement happening throughout. I think it's quite a nice texture. I like to experiment with those kinds of automations because they add very subtle movement. And as you can see, there's a lot of fluctuating, and it fluctuates over a minute in time. So it would be very difficult to get used to, and it still introduces some variation, some movement to the composition. As you can see, I'm not afraid to cut some notes off that don't work for the idea that I want. Okay, yesterday I tried to sit down with my Digitakt and make a generative patch on it, but I wasn't really happy with the results that I was getting. And today I went back to the machine, I stumbled upon a cool arpeggio. It's very simple, and a very simple melody as well on top of it. I'm about to resample it internally on the Digitakt, and I'm also going to simultaneously record it into Reaper. I'm doing that so I can decide if I want to keep working on it on the Digitakt or if I would prefer to just do my usual ambient workflow in Reaper. So today's the day. I'm working on the very last song for the album, and my idea for it is to make something more droney and dark ambient. To achieve that, I'm planning on using MicroFreak to create some drone patches, then record them into Reaper and do what I do. And that's how I made an ambient album in a month. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've been grinding and crunching really hard throughout the past week, hours upon hours, every single day, just to edit it in time for the weekend, so by the time it comes out it's not too irrelevant. And I realized that this project was way too ambitious for my current video shooting and video editing skill set. Along the way, I also encountered countless problems that I didn't account for. For example, when I was recording on my GoPro through the media port, the external microphone for some reason generated a low frequency hum that's very constant and very annoying to listen to, but when I remove it in post, it just ruins the audio completely, so it's a trade-off that's basically a lose-lose type of situation. Somewhere down the road, in the future, I will invest in a lapel mic so I can clip it onto my hoodie and have a cleaner signal, because, as you can see, my walls are made of wood in my studio, and it's very resonant, no matter how close I place the microphone to me, unless it's like right in my face, I can't get a clean, proper signal, so that's something to consider. I've also recorded countless hours of footage, and some of the footage is missing, some of the footage is scattered around various devices like my DSLR, GoPro, phone, and it's just very difficult to organize, especially when you lack experience and proper planning. I'm certain that when it's a project that's just one session that I planned for and prepared, then the videos will turn out way better than this one. I've put everything I had into this video. I've been losing my mind editing throughout the week. I'm editing on 2 laptops because one is just not too powerful and the other one barely handles it as well. So it's been a really wild ride. I enjoyed writing the album, I enjoyed recording it, but dealing with all the issues in post-production just drove me insane time and time again. So yeah, I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, that you find it entertaining, that you've learned something from it. And there's also an extended version of this video on my Patreon. In this extended version you can find more detailed sound design of the evolving pad in Vital in the first track, as well as this shimmering pad in the last track. There is also a full performance on the Digitakt of the track Cascades. If you wish to support me on there, I would be very grateful. If not, it's perfectly fine. The album is available on my Bandcamp page. If you like the sounds that I used on the album, there's also a sample pack on my Patreon in the shop area, which consists of 30 sounds taken directly from this album. Thank you for tagging along this wild journey. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. and I will see you next time. Take care.